The creek didn't ripple like normal water. It swirled inward, a black spiral pulling light and memory into itself. Steam rolled across the surface in soft, whispering waves, and shapes moved beneath it, too large to be fish, too wrong to be people. Vance tried to crawl backward, but the ground held him in place. Roots coiled around his fingers and ankles, gentle but firm, like a mother's hands refusing to let go. Marnie stood on the water like it was glass. Her face shimmered between forms, a child, a corpse, something else entirely. She had no reflection, only shadows curling around her feet, reaching up to meet her palms like she was their god. The longer Vance looked at her, the less sense her shape made. She was smoke and fire and something older than either, a wound in the shape of a girl. "You remember, don't you?" she said, softly. "No," Vance gasped. "I've never been here. I don't know you." "You don't know you," she replied, almost kindly. "But the creek does, and the creek remembers everything it's ever taken." Vance shook his head. "I'm not part of this. I don't belong here." "You do," she said. "You're ash-blooded, just like me." Wind rustled the trees behind him, but the leaves didn't move. The air smelled like wet pennies and wood smoke. A humming filled the forest, low, rhythmic, like a lullaby played in reverse. Marnie raised one hand and pointed toward the tree line. "You want to run?" she said. "You should. It's tradition." Vance felt the roots let go. He ran. His legs screamed with each step. His breath caught in his chest like a dying thing. The forest blurred, trees melting into one another as if he were running through someone else's dream. The fog thickened, wrapping around him, slowing him down. Behind him, Marnie didn't follow. But something else did. He didn't hear it at first. He felt it. Like the air folding inward, collapsing into silence. The birds stopped. The wind paused. The ground beneath his feet began to soften. Not mud, flesh. The soil pulsed faintly. With every footfall, it gave a little more. Then came the footsteps. Not fast, not loud, just steady. A dragging sound between each step, as if something tall was limping through the trees. Vance didn't look back. He broke through a clearing. In front of him stood a house. It was small, old, and leaning badly to one side, like it had grown tired of holding its own weight. The porch was sagging, and the windows were covered in newspapers, so yellowed they were nearly transparent. Something flickered behind the glass. He didn't hesitate. Vance pushed through the door and slammed it shut behind him. Inside it was dim, lit only by the dying light of a single kerosene lamp hanging from a nail in the ceiling. Dust filled the air, and every surface was covered in thick layers of cobwebs, yet the lamp burned steady. A voice from the corner. "Don't look outside!" He turned. An old woman sat in a rocking chair near the far wall, her skin paper-thin and eyes cloudy with age. Her hands trembled in her lap, folded over a bundle of dried herbs tied with black ribbon. "Why not?" Vance whispered. "Because it sees movement," she replied, her voice barely louder than breath. "And if it sees you move, it remembers what you are." Vance stepped back, suddenly aware of every muscle in his body. The woman tilted her head. "You're the Halbrook boy," he swallowed. "How do you know that?" I know what's buried," she said, "and what's been pulled back up." She pointed at his chest. "You've already let her in." "I didn't let anything in," Vance said. She just showed up." The woman gave a small, sad smile. "They always do. But it's not showing up that's the danger. It's remembering." From outside came a low creak, like a floorboard in the forest. The woman stopped rocking. "She's not alone anymore," she said. Vance moved closer. "Who's with her?" The old woman looked toward the window. "Her brothers." The lamp flickered. Vance whispered, "I thought she was an only child." "She was," the woman said, "but Marrow Creek makes its own families." There was a scratching sound at the window now. Delicate. Playful. Vance leaned in. "What do I do?" "Sleep," the woman said, "while you still can." "Why? What?" "She can't take you if you're dreaming, not fully. But once you wake up in her world, she never lets go." "I don't want to sleep." She touched his arm, ice cold and dry. "That's not your choice anymore." The lamp went out. Darkness swept over the room like a breath exhaled from the walls. Vance heard the front door creak open again, even though no one touched it. The scratching turned to tapping, soft at first, then more insistent, like someone tapping out a code in blood. The old woman began to hum, a melody so soft it almost wasn't there. Something about it made Vance's limbs grow heavy, his vision blurred. The darkness wasn't just black, it was deep, deep enough to fall into. He felt himself slipping. The tapping faded, the sound of wind, then water, then nothing. And Vance dreamed. He stood in a field of ash. The sky above him was cracked and red like dry skin. A church steeple jutted from the horizon, but it was upside down, rooted in the ground like a tooth. The trees had no leaves. Instead, the branches were lined with hanging shapes, people limp and swaying. Vance walked forward, and with each step, the ash rose around him like fog. A voice followed him. You know the way. It was his sister. He turned, and Hannah stood behind him. Not the way he remembered her. Her skin was pale, and her mouth was stitched shut with twine. She held a lantern, but no flame. I'm sorry, Vance said, voice cracking. She raised a hand, pointed toward the church. Marnie waited there, no longer a girl, no longer even pretending. She had grown taller, longer, her arms like tendrils of smoke curling down to the ground. Her hair floated around her face like it was underwater, and her eyes, they weren't hers anymore. They were his. You brought me back, she said. I didn't mean to, but you did, and now we can finish what was never finished. She raised her hand. Behind her, the sky tore open, and the creek poured in. Vance woke with a scream. The house was gone. He was in the forest again, but now the trees bled. Dark sap oozed from the trunks, forming faces in the bark. The humming returned, but now it was layered. Multiple voices, all humming at different speeds, forming a dissonant lullaby. His body ached. His skin felt hot. His veins pulsed with something that wasn't blood. A voice at his ear. You're almost ready. He turned, but nothing was there. In the distance, the steeple loomed. He didn't remember walking, but his feet moved. He was going back. Not because he wanted to, because Marrow Creek remembers its own. And the ash in his veins was burning hotter,